criteria, and then I also will tell you what it means to run a successful program, sort of starting with the end in mind and working backwards. So then we'll get to your questions and your answers, and we'll send you off on your way to start applying because the application window is open as we speak. So uh, looking forward to getting to all this. So we'll start with our sort of general outright overview. So what is outright? Who are we? And what are we all about? So I think it really starts with this question. So the gentleman pictured here is Mike Sinyard, who is the founder of both Specialized Bicycle Components and Outride. And the question that he started with, as a person who suffered from ADHD and from inability to focus as a kid, it was sort of how can cycling improve social, emotional, and cognitive health? And from that question, we started to think about research that could be done and other programs that could sort of testify to this question. And we started with some research at Stanford University. From that, the Riding for Focus program was born because it was proven and some links were shown to be had between cycling as much as one ride could improve cognitive function. And that's still, that question and that research and that work is still a really kind of key part of what we do today. And you'll see that our other programs have sprung from this particular question that Mike had some probably since before the organization was started, but Outride's been around since around 2012 as a specialized foundation, and then evolved into Outride as you see today. So what is our mission? Outride provides research, cycling programs, and funding to empower all people to experience the social, emotional, and cognitive benefits of cycling. That's our mission. And here are sort of the programs that make up that mission, right? We have research, and I'll introduce you to our lead research team in a moment. We have Riding for Focus, which is of course the topic of today's webinar. And then we have the Outright Fund, which is the other program that I support, which is a cash grant program that for youth non-cycling, youth nonprofits. Just a little bit about our impact. We are issuing an impact report soon, so be on the lookout for that. But last year through this program, through the Riding for Focus program, we were able to award 53 schools, and we also distributed 39 cash grants to youth nonprofits. And we were able to distribute around 2,000 bikes all across the country and in Canada. We trained more than 100 teachers like yourselves in California and virtually, and we awarded about $350,000 in funding. So just a little bit about our impact, a little bit about our numbers from last year, and I hope that this webinar is the beginning of more schools to be awarded and more teachers to be trained and more bikes to be distributed. So that's just a little bit about our impact. Now, today, I want to be super clear that today we're here for Riding for Focus. A lot of folks I found sort of conflate the cash grant program, which is the Outright Fund, which is at the end of a cycle now and will reopen sometime in the spring with Riding for Focus. These are two separate programs. So I just want to make it super clear that today we're talking about our school-based cycling program that is meant for folks to be implementing in a school setting, and is not a cash award. It is a in-kind grant of bikes, helmets, training, support, and other resources for you to get youth in your community at your school riding. So I just want to be super clear that today is all about Riding for Focus. And I apologize if you found us looking for our cash grant program, but you can always go to our website and learn more about that as you wish to do so. So here are the folks on our team that make all this work go. Again, Bree and I are going to be supporting Riding for Focus, Outright Fund. If you're interested in our research, I do think that Lauren might be on the call today. Perhaps Esther is also on the call. I can't look at the people on the chat just now, but they might be here. But if they are, be sure to say hello, Esther and Lauren, in the chat. David, I know, is not here today, but he is our leader, helps us secure all the resources and help us get to where we need to get to in order to serve you guys. So that's the team, a mighty team of 5 right now. And yeah, we're happy to support. We're happy to see everybody on the call today. So let's get into the heart of the matter here, which is what is Riding for Focus. We'll start there and then we'll dive deeper. So at a basic level, Riding for Focus is a cycling education curriculum and program focused on safety and building confidence in riders. It's comprised of 12 lessons. Okay, it's aligned with the Shape Standards, which is an organization that um, is concerned with PE standards and PE curriculum. What you get as a part of the Riding for Focus program is specialized rock hoppers, which are really tough, well-built hardtail bikes. Hardtail meaning they only have suspension in the front, not the back. You get a very nice helmet, as you see pictured here. And we get these bikes in sizes range from extra, extra small for your smallest learners to your more on the large size learners. So these are made to last. These would last for more than 10 years if kept up. And as a part of this grant, this is what's going to be propelling you guys forward and the machine that you're going to be using with your students and with your learners, your new riders. So that's just, I know a lot of people love to learn and know about sort of like what do we actually get? This is what you're going to be getting at the heart of it. But also, tell you more about sort of what our nomenclature. Once we bring in people, our teachers, we start to call them our champions, because these are the folks who create the conditions to win. These are the folks who make things go. So all of you guys are now prospective champions. This is a program that is designed for middle schoolers, and I know that a lot of folks at the elementary level, I know a lot of folks at the high school level are interested in this work, but um, this is designed for middle schoolers. So just want to always foreground that. And then again, this is a program that is deeply rooted in our research and deeply rooted in the work that we're doing to just show everybody and prove to everyone that cycling is a great thing to do for your brain. And so if you're at all interested in the research that we're doing, we can tell you more about that. And also you can reach out to Esther or Lauren. So I just wanted to provide those sort of general statements. But what are the champions saying? Does this stuff work, right? Is this something that you should be really interested in? And I think it is, because as you can see here, 99% of the champions agree that students are more confident in riding after Riding for Focus, right? 92% say that they see an increase in students talking about cycling opportunities outside of school. It gets them thinking about this. 100% say that students learn the importance of cycling safety after this program. And then, I think we have a little bit of work to do at only 83% of champions saying that Riding for Focus has increased student attendance and engagement. So, this is just a little bit more about the impact of this program, a little bit more about, why you should be interested in the basics of that. So one last thing about the basics, a lot of people are interested in, if I get this grant, sort of what are we responsible for outside of implementing, right? So I want to foreground our reporting requirements as well for Riding for Focus. So it's a 3-year grant. And during those 3 years, we want you to keep 2 trained champions again, to their instructors. And then we want you to also complete a data collection and program evaluation protocol, which is basically an optional student survey that you have your students implement and you have your students do before and after, and then we'll ask you to do a teacher survey as well. So that's a little bit about the reporting that we will be asking all of our champions to do, and I think it's important as prospective champions to understand the sort of time commitment, the sort of commitment that Riding for Focus is. So that is some of those basics. Okay, so I see some great questions already coming through, and we're going to get to those. And I think Bree might also be responding in the chat, if I'm not mistaken. All right, so let's talk about a little bit greater detail who's eligible for this program and what we'll be looking at as far as that is concerned. Okay. So, uh, primarily, Writing for Focus is aimed at public middle schools serving, students in grades 5 through 8, right? Uh, Traditional or charter schools. Those are both, of course, in public schools. Um, and I think we are also considering where to have the most impact with our grants, with our grant making. And we know that, the most impact can be had in schools that don't have ordinarily have access to these sorts of programming, right? So 40% plus of students from low income backgrounds or Title I status. So that's a really big area of eligibility for this grant. Um, in the past, we've allowed also nonprofits to apply. Um, you can still apply as a nonprofit, but with the wrinkle that you have to have a school partner that you're implementing with and alongside. We just believe this program is best suited in a school setting. So if you're a nonprofit, I know that a lot of nonprofit organizations signed up to be on the webinar call today. We just want you to get a partner, a school partner who aligns with these criteria, and you will be considered eligible, but not as a standalone. So all the equipment, the bikes, the helmets I just mentioned will be granted to the school and be in the possession of the school. Happy to take more questions about that in a moment. So who's not eligible? So independent, private, or for-profit schools are not eligible for a grant. Okay. If you're a standalone nonprofit, you don't have a school in your area that you're working with or alongside, you would not be eligible. For-profit businesses, thinking of places like, maybe bike shops will be interested in this program. We won't grant to a for-profit business. And then schools that are not primarily serving students from low-income backgrounds, we don't think would really be the primary demographic for this particular grant. Okay. The program itself can be made available to purchase, but we'll come to that after we're done with the grant cycle. Okay. So we're just talking about the grant primarily during this call. All right. So as we move along, we'll talk about the process that as a prospective champion that you will undergo to receive the grant. So application process is hopefully pretty straightforward. Today or sometime before March 31st, you'll fill out our online application. I'm going to show you in a moment where to find that and what to click on and what to go to. Okay. Then Bree and I, the rest of the Outright team, going to look into these applications, vet them, and we're going to invite some schools to come and do an interview with us. I'll tell you in a moment what we're going to talk about in that interview. And then we'll make a decision based on our criteria and go forward with the grant. So 3-step process, and I'll tell you the timeline here. Oh, this is what the application portal looks like before we get to the timeline. So when you go to outride.smaapply.org, again, I'm being really specific about this because I don't want people to go to the wrong place. Please click on the program that says 2024 Writing for Focus Program Grant. Do not worry about anything else that may be on the screen if you're interested in the Writing for Focus Program Grant. Okay. All right. So again, the application is going to be open from today till March 31st. So a window that is, I think, appropriately long enough, but if we get down to it and there's still some folks who need to apply, reach out to us, okay, and tell us your situation, and we can perhaps make some accommodations. The interviews we're going to start to do pretty much as soon as we start to get applications, so that we can get folks situated, perhaps but even before the end of the school year. All right. And then, of course, by the decision we're looking to make by May 1st, so that everyone who is interested in the program will know before they leave for summer break and which we know we want to have teachers having their break and not worried about bikes. But there is a summer opportunity I'm going to tell you about in a moment. So let's take a look at the selection criteria. All right. Um, as a school, as an organization, are you aligned with our mission that I talked about earlier? Do you believe in the power of bikes to really transform lives and to really impact well-being? Right? We're going to get engaged from that from the application. We're going to get engaged from that from the interview. Student demographics and need. Right? The application is going to require you to demonstrate, who your students are, and as a way, and through that, understanding what the need is. Okay. Ability to implement with fidelity. I'm going to tell you what that means in a moment. And then support and sustainability. I'll also get into that in a second. So once you go through the selection process, once you go through the application process, what happens after the award? Well, you got to get trained. We're going to have a training platform, and also going to have an opportunity to engage with us in person. We're going to ask you to plan specifically what it's going to mean to implement the program on your campus, in your community. And then in the this summer, we're going to invite, at least one person from your school, your team, to come to Morgan Hill, California, to the specialized headquarters and partake in a really interesting and cool, hopefully fulfilling in-person experience to learn more about implementing the program, to learn more about other folks who are implementing the program, to learn more about our research. And then after that experience, we're going to send you a fleet of bikes, helmets, and resources and support. That will all happen and by this fall. So, and even if you're not implementing in the fall because you live someplace that is, cold or snowy, you'll still be able to get the bikes during that time. You can implement in the spring. Okay. So hopefully, after this, from these past few slides, you have a sort of a really high level overview of what it means to go through this process, of a little bit about sort of what we're looking at in terms of the application and where to find that information. But now I want to tell you a little bit more about what a successful program looks like once you have all the equipment. So you can start to think about it now as you fill out your application. Okay. So what does a successful program look like? Okay. First of all, implementation fidelity. Are you abiding by our sort of guidelines, which I'll get to in a moment, around frequency, around in class time, etc. Do you have a relationship with the bike shop or someone who has some mechanic know-how? That's really important. We can help you with that. We can help you find maybe a specialized retailer in your area. Maybe we can help you find a project bike tech school in your area to help with the assembly and ongoing maintenance of those bikes that I mentioned earlier in the presentation. Do you have a storage solution, right? I think it's critical that you have some place to put these bikes so that they're safe and sound. And we'll go over that in our interview with you during the interview process, our application process. Are you data driven? We talked a little bit about our research. We talked a little bit about our reporting. Hopefully that's not just something that you do as a compliance measure, but it's something that you do to help your program grow and thrive, right? And we have a robust protocol and tools around that. Having a fundraising strategy. We do, try and outfit you as much as possible with a really solid bike that has everything needed out of the box with helmets. But we always find that schools need other resources, perhaps, whether it's, replacing the grips, or maybe you need to buy some pedals, whatever the case may be, right? Do you have a strategy to be able to do that? It's really important to consider. And then community partnerships. I mentioned that, we will accept, I call them consortiums of nonprofits and schools, but what are the other partners in your community that you can build with for your program? I think that's really important. And successful programs that are implementing now, really have a network and a fabric of nonprofits, other partners that are helping them. So consider these factors when you're looking into your application and when you're considering this opportunity. Now, what is implementation fidelity? This is just a slide or a framework that you can use to think about implementing the program on your campus and what it means to do this well, right? Are you, following the curriculum that I mentioned? Or do you need to deviate? Deviation is fine. We want to know about it and understand it. Though we do find that the best programs sort of adhere closely to the curriculum that we've, invested in with a team of researchers and folks who have really dove in to try and understand what it takes to take a, young person from being a novice writer to being a confident writer, being road ready. Okay. Exposure. The sort of, rule of thumb that we use is 6-3-20. So, for at least 6 weeks implementing the program, 3 days a week, and 20 minutes, at least 20 minutes in those sessions, right? That's what we think is a good dose of cycling. But if you want to do it more, that's great. If you want to do it less, we can adapt. You can adapt. We can help you do that. And then looking at quality, or how closely are you following our training that we're going to deliver to you, and in student engagement, how well are your students responding? You can gauge that from the surveys and from the data collection protocol that I mentioned. Okay, so think about this framework as you think about implementation fidelity. All right, so that was a good amount of information. And so I'm going to switch to now a different mode of presentation, just about Q&A. So I'm going to answer some common questions that we get, and then we're going to open the floor to talk about questions that you have. I will say, don't let this presentation be a substitute for going and reading our frequently asked questions, or from reading our grant guidelines, or from engaging with our website and some of the official information there. So I wanted this to be a high-level overview, give you guys an opportunity to hear from us about the program, and then get your questions answered. Here's some. I think, Bree, can you mute all participants? I think I hear a little bit of chatter. Thank you. All right. So here's some common questions that we get about the program. So do we as a school own the bikes? Yes, you own the bikes, and for when you enter into the program agreement, should you receive the grant, you agree to do the data collection, the research protocol, to implement the program, right? To actually take students through the program for 3 years. Okay. And that's important. Again, referring back to the reporting structure I mentioned earlier, how many of these bikes can we receive? This is the question we get a lot. So in general, I would say on average, most schools, most programs receive between 25 and 35 bikes. 35 being a good upper limit for a PE class size, or a regular class size. Are there sometimes, you have bigger classes than that? Yes, but I would just say think about 35 being the upper limit. Can we preview the curriculum that you've mentioned? Yes, you can. We can send you a preview of the curriculum. We can help you understand what's a part of the curriculum. You would just need to reach out to Bree or I through writingforfocus@outrightbike.com, and we can give you a sense of what the curriculum looks like. But I will say that it's a really step-by-step and well-made curriculum that takes you through not only sort of the on-bike knowledge, but the off-bike knowledge that would enrich a rider's experience. And we have a really great team behind the curriculum, and it's constantly evolving. What about training? You mentioned training. So the training in the past has been, you would come to California and do the training with us in person or virtually through Zoom webinars. We're working on new solutions for that right now that will have a online, maybe traditional, course where you can go and do it whenever you need to. That's in the works right now. But you will need to have 2 folks trained in the program. We get a lot of questions about adaptations. I only have, 3 days a week, or maybe only have 1 day a week I can do it. That's fine. We know that every situation is different. well, we do like to track and understand the ways that champions are using the adaptations and using different ways to implement the program. But I will say that the best way to implement the program that we know and we understand is the 6x30x20. At least 6 weeks, 3 days a week, 20 minutes per session. Okay. Again, what if I'm out of school? What if I'm just a government agency? What if I'm just a nonprofit? What if I'm not connected to a school? Okay, then I would say get connected to a school. Partner with the school because we think this is the best. That's the best setting. Okay, um, and so if you're not a school and you don't think that you'll be able to partner with a school, then maybe you might look at our purchase option, or maybe you might look at the outright fund, which is our other program. Okay. Uh, but this program, Right for Focus, is geared towards our public middle schools. But what if you're not a public middle school? What if I'm an independent school? Again, I'm just bringing this up because I know that this is going to be a sticking point for folks. The primary applicant, the primary recipient and target for this program are public middle schools, serving those kids, those youth from low-income backgrounds. And then data collection. I've seen a lot of questions already about data collection coming through the chat. We do have a lot of resources around student privacy. We do have a lot of resources around, allowing folks to opt out. And I think I would just hope that no one's sort of, afraid of that part of it, but it is something that we've have zipped up pretty tightly. So those are common questions. I know there are probably more. So please come off mute if you need to, or I can read them from the chat. All right, we got one that just came through. What's the number of bikes that schools receive? So we're looking at 25 to 35 as an average number of bikes that schools receive. What else? Please come off chat or come off mute.
Hi, I know you addressed this, but I just want to make sure. We entirely fit the spirit of the program. We only serve low-income kids. They meet federal poverty guidelines. But we are a private school, but we're a tuition-free school. We fundraise the money so they can attend here 100% on scholarship with a goal of ending the cycle of poverty. And almost all of our students are minority as well. And part of what we do is try to give them opportunities that wouldn't normally be available to them. Most of our kids don't even have bikes or ride bikes. So we fit the spirit of the program, but we're not a public school.
Yep. So is it Wendy?
Yes.
Wendy, I think what I would encourage you to do is I would say that your situation is probably the exception to the public middle school guideline, right? So if you're able to demonstrate and prove that what you're saying is factual, which of course I believe it is, but you would just need to demonstrate it to us via the application, then we will consider you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, what else?
Chaz, one of the questions in the chat is if we work closely with an area schools and have an MOU in place with a school district, can my hospital qualify for the program?
A hospital. Can the person who asked that maybe add some more details or maybe help me understand a little bit more? Come off mute. Do you know who that was, Bree?
Yeah, that was Alfonso.
Hello, can you guys hear me? This is Alfonso.
We can hear you, yes.
Okay, great. So I do work with it's called the Health Promotion and Disease Prevention Program, and I work under a hospital. However, we work really close with. We actually have these. We have teachers that we pay a stipend to carry out physical activities. So they are called school health team leaders. And again, these people are in place at all the area schools to implement physical activities, get minutes throughout the day to be physically active. So I was wondering if we apply for it as a hospital, are we able to get the grant?
So Alfonso, what would need to happen is you would need to get a specific school, one specific middle school,
Mhm.
right, that you're going to work with on this program, and have them agree to work with you closely to implement the program according to the implementation framework that I mentioned earlier, right? So if you're talking about, you're working with teachers who maybe work at various different middle schools and sort of they come to your organization to work with you, that arrangement is not necessarily ideal. But if you have a program where you're going to a specific middle school in your area, local, and you're working with that middle school on this program, we would consider that.
No, they don't come here. They stay in the schools. So yeah, we go into the schools. We develop programs in the schools for these kids to participate in.
Right. And just to be careful about it, it would have to be for this program. It's a per school thing, right? So
Mm.
it would need to be one school you'd be working with on this. They would own the bikes, they would own the program, and you would support them. That's the arrangement that we would be open to granting.
Absolutely. Yes. We're not going to, we just want to apply for them because
Right.
it's to go through the school board, the superintendent. It's really difficult to do that. But if we get the program, we can just hand it off to them and they're responsible for carrying this out. We'll just be
Right.
that middleman.
Okay. Yep. Alfonso, please reach out to us and we can sort the details on that specifically.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. I'm seeing some work here. Does it have to be a middle school? I mostly have worked with high school students in biking on Pittsburgh streets and so forth. So again, this program is designed for middle schoolers. It's designed for the middle school brain. It was designed with like youth, in the age range of grade 5 to 5'8". And we do see that, in practice in the field, this really does work best with those grade levels. And so when we're talking about this grant cycle, we're going to be primarily looking at, or I should probably say exclusively looking at, the middle schools and middle school age programs. Now, once we get to the end of it, and perhaps we have some more additional inventory or something like that we can work with, then we perhaps may. But I'm not going to make a promise to anyone that we're going to open this program up to high schoolers or elementary school students at this time. I just can't make that promise to you. But I think that I can say this is a program that's best suited for middle schools. All right. What else? Anybody else would like to come off chat and ask their question, or free if you see any that's come through?
Hey, when schools have built these in the past, I would assume transporting 25 to a local shop is tough. Do people usually build them themselves and have a tech come over, or do they invite somebody from the shop to come over? How do the builds usually happen?
Yeah, it's Dave. That's a fantastic question. So, you have the option, Dave. We can send the bikes, we can distribute the bikes straight to your preferred bike shop if you would like. We'll load them up, and put them right on the truck, and we'll drop them off right at the front door of the bike shop. They can take them, build them, and then of course you have to arrange how to figure out how to get the bikes from there to the school. But a lot of folks just, a lot of bike shops have a truck or something that they can load the bikes into and take them. I don't think we've had any issues really with getting bikes from the bike shop to the school. Other arrangements, deliver them straight to the school. Whoever is the build partner, which could be a local bike shop, could be, like I mentioned before, Project Bike Tech chapter. If you guys don't know about Project Bike Tech, you should look it up. They come to the school and they build them and they make a whole event out of it, right? It's a build day. So yeah, that's a really fun community activation opportunity, right? You can invite the school to come out and see the bikes being built. I would just say, just make sure that the bikes are being built by someone who is a certified mechanic or works at a bike shop or knows their way around how to build a bike. It's not a terribly complex build. They come mostly assembled, but we want to make sure that the bikes stand up to the kind of use they're going to be getting, right? With lots of kiddos running around on them. So does that answer your question, Dave?
Yeah, do they? It does, yeah, especially with middle schoolers pounding away on them. But does the bike shops usually do that as for free, or should we anticipate raising funds to cover the cost of that build?
Yeah, so I can answer that generally. I think you should not anticipate that any bike shop will do this work for free, but they might if you ask nicely. So, I think that's my answer to that question.
Thank you.
Jane, I believe I saw your hand raised. Was your question answered?
I think we did get Jane, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. Actually, I don't know. How about, here's another question that's good. I'm just looking at the chat, guys. So if you have another one, please don't hesitate to come off. But I'll answer this one. Do you have adaptive bikes for students with disabilities? So unfortunately, we do not have adaptive bikes for students with disabilities. You're probably talking about trikes or bikes that can be operated by hand, and so forth. So we don't have bikes like that. But one thing that you might look into is the Outright Fund, which again is a different program that I mentioned earlier. You can receive a monetary grant, to purchase bikes from manufacturers who do produce those bikes. But unfortunately, right now the bikes that we have are, of course, would be well suited to folks who are not using adaptive bikes.
Megan, I also sent a link over for the National Ability Center page, and they might be a good resource to look at too.
All right. Anything else, guys? Please, if you've had your question answered and you want to hop off, then by all means. If you want to stick around and continue to chat with us, that's great. But let me just tell you while I have you about the next steps. So again, I would just love if everybody just took a moment and just made our FAQ and our grant guidelines your Sunday reading, get a cup of coffee and just really dig into, the program and the guidelines. I think, that's really going to tell you specifically what you're looking for. And then once you do that, reach out to us and we can have a cup of coffee together and we can tell you more about it. But that's the first thing. The application is open today. All right. So you can get started. Go to outride.smaapply.org. Get started on your application. Don't wait till the last moment. Get started today, even if you don't finish. All right. If you have questions, again, reach out to Riding for Focus at outrightbike.org. I would not reach out to me directly on this. I know a lot of folks see a name and they want to reach out to a name. I promise you, the quickest way to get an answer is Riding for Focus at outrightbike.org within 24 hours, if not instantaneously. Okay. And then finally, I would just say, bear with us. Right? If we don't get back to you within 24 hours, it's not because we missed it. It's because we've got a lot of things maybe going on. But bear with us. We have a small team of 5, and we're working hard to get to you your answer. Working hard to distribute these bikes, and we're working hard to get the program supported. So hopefully this very short, very brief introduction to the program provides you with enough information to get started and to start thinking about what this program might mean for your campus, for your community. I can't speak highly enough of the materials. I can't speak highly enough of the equipment. I can't speak highly enough of the support that this team can provide. So if you're at all interested, please reach out to us. Please get going on the application and we can make this thing happen. So I'm going to stick around for a few more moments. Bree and I will. Perhaps Esther and Lauren are still in the chat answering questions about things. But thank you guys very much.
Thank you. Jane, I see your question. I manage a bike shop and I know that we're not eligible. However, I want to be involved and help out the children of the community. Thank you. That's awesome. The best way would probably be to reach out to the local schools around you, either to let them know about Riding for Focus so that they can apply. And then if you're able to help with like bike builds or, throughout the program. If the school, it allows people to come in to help with lessons or setting up lessons, that's probably the best way to be involved.
I would agree.